As summer drew closer and my friends and I looked forward to a leisurely summer of fun and sun, then Erin decided to throw one of her parties. This one is a costume party with a twist. She had everyone that had been invited draw a paper out of a basket. Whatever was written on the paper is what you have to come to the party dressed as. People drew their slip of paper, some smiling, some frowning. When it was my turn, I grabbed a paper, opened it, and saw what was written there. Bride, it said on my paper. Listen everyone, I have matched up the costumes. Like Superman and Lois Lane, the Prince and Cinderella and so on. Then she started to read off the costumes from the list she had. When she got to bride, I stood up. So far I was the only boy that would be dressing as a girl. Then she said groom, and Ken stood up. Ken is taller than I am by almost 8 inches, and outweighs me by 40 pounds at least. Standing next to him as a bride, I would look like a girl. Then the rest of the names were drawn. I was the only boy to draw a girl's costume. There was some teasing about it, especially when Ken put his arm around me. When I got home I told my mother what I had drawn, which made her giggle for a moment, then she turned serious. I have my wedding dress of course, but it's so far out of date that I would not ask you to wear it, but your Aunt Mary works in women's wear at the department store. Maybe she can help us. Mom called Aunt Mary, then explained what kind of help I needed. I saw Mom nodding her head a lot, then, when she was off the phone, she told me that we were going to the store in the morning. I gave it no thought at all. I mean, it's just a wig and a dress after all. How hard could this be? I did not know how stupid I was either. The next morning Mom and I went to see Aunt Mary. When I did not see just how serious becoming a bride should be, she took me into the bridal section. That's when I met the scariest woman I ever saw. Like Attila the Hun in a dress, the woman is huge, with her salt and pepper hair pulled back in a severe bun drawn so tight I think she used it away to draw her facial skin tighter. Not to be crude, but I think she has more beard than I do. Mary introduced me to her, explaining why I needed to become a bride. So, you want to be a bride? Even her voice sounded like gravel in a mixer. The woman pointed at a small room and told me to undress. I looked at Mom, who was nodding her head yes. I went in the booth and stripped to my briefs, then Mom came in with a tape measure. Margaret says that you will be a beautiful bride. How would she know? She looks like a truck driver. Hush up and do as I tell you. Slip this robe on for a moment, I'll be back in a few minutes. When Mom returned she handed me a pair of panties, then put the rest of the things on the bench. Mom motioned for me to put the panties on and turned around while I did. Then she wrapped a corset around me, watching as I struggled to fasten the hooks that went all the way up the front. Then she tightened the laces. Gasping for air and panting, Mom merely smiled, then pushed something into the built-in bra. Next, I had to sit and pull on some of those nylon footies of the type you see in shoe stores when women try on shoes. I wrapped the robe around me, then followed Mom out of the small booth. Stand there, child. Margaret pointed at a small, raised platform, and I stepped up on it. Then she measured my waist, bust and hips while Mom and Aunt Mary stood watching. A size 10 I think. Let me get a dress for her to try on. It's one that was returned, so you can get a very good deal on it. Her? Margaret left me standing there for 10 minutes before she returned with a huge plastic bag. Mom helped her take the dress out, then it was slipped over my head, pulled down, and zipped up. I was in a sea of white satin and lace, and looking down I could clearly see that the dress is low cut, exposing quite a bit of my ineffective and fake boobs. The dress hung from my shoulders leaving my arms bare, fit tightly across my abdomen then flared out. The dress was dragging on the floor, but all of the women ignored that, and had me stand there while they fussed here and there. Aunt Mary had a pair of white shoes in her hand, and helped me slip my feet into each one. I was able to stand there in the heels, but walking might be a problem. She needs a smaller waist, and of course more breast, but this will do I think. She will be beautiful after you remove all of the hair on her legs and so on, get her hair styled and proper makeup. I agree, Mary. I'll take care of it. The child does need a bigger bust, but also hips, and I have just the thing for her. I will get it for you. Things were going from merely bad to worse now. Mom had a funny look on her face, Aunt Mary smiling, while Attila was busy digging out something to give me boobs and hips. Margaret returned, handed Mom some boxes, then helped me get the dress off. I went to put my own clothes on, but Mom refused to take the corset off, saying that I should wear it for a while to break it in. The best I could manage was to remove the stuffing in the bra, and even then I still had small but well-defined breasts poking at my shirt. Aunt Mary and Mom took care of paying for things while I hustled my butt out to the car before anyone saw me. Mom didn't say anything until we got home, then told me to go to my room and undress. When we got home I went to my room, undressing as quickly as I could. I still had the panties on as Mom unlaced the corset. As I took it off, I began breathing a sigh of huge relief until I saw what she had in her hands. A quivering breast that looked very lifelike. This party is only 5 days away, which is barely enough time for you to get used to walking in a dress let alone heels, so I think that you should spend some time dressed as a girl. That's why Mary brought over a few things of hers for you to try on. Spend how much time as a girl? Why, from now until the party of course. But why? All I have to do is wear the dress and show up. Because being a bride is a very big thing in a girl's life, and you should respect that by doing the best you can, and that means becoming a girl for a week. Besides, you'll want to get your hair and nails done on Saturday so you'll look nice at the party. I'm sure that you don't want to go into the salon as a male, then leave as a male, but with bridal hair and well-done nails, do you? Of course not, but my hair isn't long enough. Yes it is, you just aren't used to brushing it out that way. Arguing with my mother is like talking to a post. She might hear what you say, but it bounces right off. Do I have to? I think you should, yes. There wasn't any way I could talk her out of this, especially when she had that look on her face, so with a shrug I gave up, and Mom spread a cream all over me, then, after a short wait, I showered it off, which took all of my body hair away, leaving my skin smooth and silky soft. Once I was dry, Mom did not even read the instructions as she spread the adhesive on the breast form and carefully pushed them against my chest. When she was done, I looked in the mirror and saw that I have 2 very real-looking breasts sticking out of my chest. I couldn't even see a seam. The hip padding is actually a panty of sorts, which I had to struggle into, but when I had it on all traces of my manhood was gone, only a small triangle of hair that looked a lot like I imagined a girl would look. Mom told me to put the panties back on, and when I did it was obvious that they fit like they should, and left me with a wedge shape between my legs. Put this on for now. Mom handed me a bra. Looking in the mirror, I saw the twin mounds, hefted each one in my hands, shocked at how easy it had been to take away my manhood and turn me into a girl. Mom smiled at me, then fastened the bra in place, which is when I saw that my breasts now filled the cups almost to overflowing. At her direction, I sat on the bed and pulled on the pantyhose, then was handed a short dress, which I slipped over my head. As soon as she zipped it up I stepped into the heels, looked in the mirror, and almost fainted. With no makeup, my hair in a stringy mass and standing awkwardly, I looked like a girl, and scarier, it was obvious even to me that it wouldn't take much more to complete this transition. Mom had me take the dress off and we went into her bedroom, where she did my makeup for me, then brushed out my hair, using a blow dryer and her curling iron, some gel and hairspray. When she was done I could see that I was right. Back in my room I slipped the dress on again, and looked in the mirror. Now we need a name for this new girl we have here. I kept my mouth shut, unwilling to give her any ideas, but Mom did not wait long before she said my new name would be Claire. Now that we have all that out of the way, you can do what you usually do, but remember, you're a girl now, for a week, and I want you to try and act like one. You can imagine what I felt like when Mom left my room. There I was, dressed as a girl, looking pretty good, with the thought of spending an entire week this way. As I looked around my room, I wondered how it would be to stay there the whole time. I never got the chance to dwell on it, because Mom called me, using the new name. Figuring it was just the two of us, it would be okay, so I went down the stairs as quickly as I could in the unfamiliar heels. The minute my feet touched the lower landing, I turned and saw Erin standing there, her mouth wide open. So there I was, dressed as a girl, stuck in place, unable to find a way to leave. I stopped by to tell you that you don't have to be a bride if you don't want to, but Claire? I looked at Mom, who had the instruction sheet for the breast forms in her hand, her eyes wide open. When I attached those forms, I didn't read the instructions until now, that is. It says here that most attempts to remove them will injure the skin, causing scarring and or tissue damage. The minimum time you'll have to wait is 10 days. 10 days! Mom! I know, dear, and I am sorry about this, but look at the bright side. The party is on Saturday, which is 6 days away, so all you'll have to do is wait another few days before we can try to remove them. What if they don't come off? Then what? Then you'll just have to wait until we can get them off. Great. Erin heard all of this, but did not make the connection right away. Then Mom explained it to her. Erin looked at me the whole time Mom was talking, her eyes moving up and down my body. You're telling me that he will have to be Claire for 10 days? Yes, dear, but I don't want him teased because I made a mistake. Looking like that? She'll be lucky if she isn't hit on by every guy that sees her. Mom and Erin both looked at me for a moment, then Erin asked Mom if I had enough clothes to last 10 days, and when Mom said that Aunt Mary had loaned me a few things of hers, she asked me if I wanted to go with her to the mall so I could get some clothes that fit me correctly. My immediate and very firm answer was no, of course. I could wear my own clothes, with the bra maybe, but there wasn't any reason for me to expand the number of girl clothes I already have. Well, she certainly needs some panties of her own, and another bra, of course. Maybe some basic flats and a skirt. Why don't we all go together? That way I'll be able to see that Claire has what she needs. Mom, you girls wait here. I'll get our purses and we can go. I never thought that you would look so good. Yes. But better than that, girl, you're very pretty. I only did this for the party, Erin. I'm not into dressing as a girl, and you know it. We'll see. Just then Mom showed up, handing me a black purse, which had my wallet, a brush, lipstick, and some tissue in it. Once again, she turned deaf on me. I hesitated, unwilling to leave the house, then Erin took my hand in hers, pulled a little, and I reluctantly followed her out of the house. With a breeze in my underwear, fear stalking nearby, and a general uncertainty about all of this, I was ushered into the car. With Erin in the back seat, I could not see the smile on her face, or those eyes of hers twinkling in excitement. As one, we went into the lingerie section of the same store I'm getting the dress from. My nose was assaulted by the scent of perfume or something. Erin and Mom went straight to the racks, hunting for just the right garments, while I tried desperately to hide behind the panties. While you're looking at panties, Claire, pick out some you like, but make sure they're cotton. Mom's voice was loud enough for everyone could hear. I started looking at them, not knowing exactly what to get, but most of them had a picture on the front, and I grabbed a package of plain white panties. Erin and Mom had a bra when they joined me. I handed her the package, staying right where I was, with a giggling Erin, while Mom paid the bill. Let's go, girls, we have to get Claire a few skirts, blouses, and some shoes. Details don't matter here. Suffice it to say that I left the store with 2 new skirts, 2 blouses, and 2 pairs of shoes in my underwear damp. We dropped Erin off at home, with her telling me she would be over the next day. Mom took us home, then insisted that she show me the right way to put a bra on. Since I would be wearing one for at least the next 10 days, I had no choice but to let her. I don't really hate having these things stuck on my chest. I hate the fact that I now have to dress as a girl, and worse than that, I turned out to be cute. When we were done, I had on the new wraparound green skirt with a white pullover top, the black heels and pantyhose. All it took was one look and I knew that not many people would know I am a boy, unless I told them. The top stretched over my boobs, outlining them, my bra straps barely visible. The hem on the skirt is at mid-thigh, revealing shapely, tan-colored legs. Mom didn't say much when she saw me, just that she liked the way I looked. Embarrassed, I sat watching television for an hour or so, then the door opened and in walked Aunt Mary. I made the appointment at the salon for Saturday morning. That way we'll have all day to get you ready in plenty of time. Gee, thanks. You're quite welcome, dear. Aunt Mary ignored my sarcasm, left me, and joined my mother in the kitchen. What I really wanted to do was join them, so I would know what kind of plan they're hatching, but if they were just talking, I might become the subject of discussion. I went in and flicked on the television instead. With every step hair flickered across my ears, the bouffant style looked nice, but every time I saw my reflection I wondered who the girl is. My hand rested on my leg, the silky nylon over smooth skin actually felt quite nice, but I would never admit that to anyone but myself. Just about an hour later someone phoned, Mom answered it, and I heard a muted conversation. Ignoring it, I continued to watch the television. Aunt Mary went home, Mom started dinner, and I set the table. Right about the time I started to get the plates out, the doorbell rang, and Mom let Ken enter. His eyes landed on me, and a grin broke out on his face. Erin said you were a fox, and she was right. You look fantastic. What are you doing here? I came to see my bride, of course. Well, now you have. And you're beautiful. I can't wait to show up at the party with you, Claire. Me either. That's great. I do think that we should spend some time together though. After all, we will be the bride and groom. Mom was clearly taken by Ken's good looks, and I got that sinking feeling that she agreed with him. Standing next to him, even in heels, I found myself looking at his chin, a grin plastered on his face. Why not let me take you to dinner tonight? Before I could even open my mouth, Mom said it would be okay with her. Claire does need some practice being around people, as a girl that is, and dinner out is a good start, don't you think so, Claire? I wanted to kick her right in the shins, but wouldn't, of course. All I could do was either say no and make everyone unhappy, or go along with it, but make sure he kept his hands to himself. Mom handed me the same purse and told me to touch up my lipstick, which I did. Then, in a desperate attempt to stay home, I reminded both of them that as soon as I could, I would be back to my old self, and I could stop the charade. Mom merely smiled, while Ken held his hand out to me. Once again I failed. I did not take his hand, but followed him out to his car, sat in my own seat, buckled in, safe I hoped. I wasn't so sure, based on the way he looked at me. It made me feel like dinner for a great big bear. As much as I wanted to be myself again, I had to admit that wearing a dress or skirt wasn't that bad, once you got used to having an unfamiliar breeze on yourself, and I did look pretty good. Based on the fact that I have 10 days in this rig, and the way everyone treats me, I was ready to give up and simply go with the flow. If I did that, would Mom and everyone else think that I like dressing as a girl? Or would it make my life easier for the next 10 days? Ken has a reputation with the ladies, and while I and many of my friends always admired him for it, I'm the one he is focusing now. Since he certainly knows I am a male, just like him, I wonder why he asked me out to dinner, and why he is grinning all of the time. Ken took me to Fours, a popular restaurant downtown. All during dinner our conversation was light, then he wanted to know why I said I would be gone in 10 days. I explained that Mom had not read the instructions before she attached the breast forms. I expected some sympathy, instead I got another one of his radiant smiles. Then he moved so he was sitting next to me. I clamped my knees together, put my hands in my lap, and smiled, just as his hand landed on my thigh. I almost jumped out of my chair, but he was very calm. Relax, Claire. I don't bite. I'm not a girl, I hissed at him. Not before this, and maybe not later, but right now you are. All I want to do is be your friend. You already are my friend, Ken. A closer friend, Claire. Of course I knew what that meant. Then, even more stupidly, I turned to tell him no way. The moment I turned my head we were nose to nose, then his lips touched mine. Just a touch, lightly, but I was so stunned that I did not move, and he kissed me again, harder, with passion in it. I broke away, ashamed and scared, shaking like a leaf. His arm pulled me to him, and once more his lips touched mine. This time, it went on forever, then I pushed away again, and told him to take me home. When he pulled into the driveway I ran in the house without giving him a chance to kiss me again. I wanted no repeat of that. I went in my room and undressed as quickly as possible, washed off the makeup and went to get into bed. That's when I saw the nightgown. I slipped it over my head and then got into bed. As much as I wanted to, I could not sleep. My mind went back to the moment Ken's lips touched mine for the first time, then later, when he kissed me harder. In my nose I could still smell his aftershave, my shoulder the way his hand felt as he pulled me closer, then, the way I felt inside. I had been quivering like a bowl of jello inside. If he told anyone he kissed me, Ken called me every day after that, but I refused to see him. Mom could not understand why, and I wasn't about to tell her. I managed to make it through Friday without incident, but I did wear a skirt or dress every day, and managed, after some coaching by Mom, to learn how to do makeup fairly well. Not that I wanted to learn it, you understand, it kept me busy for the entire week. On Saturday morning Mom told me to wear jeans and a blouse, gym shoes, and no makeup for my appointment at the salon. Mom and Aunt Mary, with me in tow, ventured into the salon. I did not know what to expect, except that my hair and nails would be done. I didn't know what else they do in a place like this. Aunt Mary had it all set up, and I was taken by the hand by a woman named Debbie, into a small changing room. Take your clothes off down to your panties, of course, and slip into this robe, dear. She left me there, no explanation, nothing. I undressed, slipped on the robe, then cracked the door open. Debbie was waiting for me. We went into a small room where I was told to sit in the chair. It looked like a dentist chair to me. Without a word she started to slather some green gunk all over my face, leaving only my eyes and mouth uncovered. Then another woman came in and began to clip and file my toenails. When she was done she painted them a bright red, and while the polish dried, she started on my hands. One after another she clipped, filled and sanded, then she added extensions to each nails and the process started all over. When she was done, every finger was tipped in the same bright red, the nails longer with a rounded point. As soon as the polish was dry, Debbie returned, and with a quick jerk, tore the mask away from my face. It did sting a little, and my hands went to my face. The skin was silky smooth to the touch. When I came in, I could feel a trace of stubble. Now, nothing. I had a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, but Debbie helped me up, and we went into the main room, where I joined several women, all wearing a robe similar to mine. Sitting in another chair, my head lying on the headrest, Debbie began to pluck my eyebrows. Before I could protest, she told me she was just thinning them a little, for a better shape, she said. When she finished plucking me like a chicken, she washed my hair and started trimming. Then came the rollers and a foul-smelling liquid of some kind. I spent half an hour under the dryer, then a girl named Kim came over and began my makeup. When she was done, Debbie began to remove the rollers, brushing my hair out as she went. Mom gave her what looked like a wire, with pearls and white flowers on it, which she worked into my hair. It took her a while, then, I was turned in the chair, and I saw myself for the first time. I was shaken right to my core. My hair was swept up and back, with ringlets hanging down on each side. The wire with the pearls on it sat right on top of my head, the small white flowers sticking out in all directions. My face no longer carried traces of me. My eyebrows now arched higher, tapering to a fine line at the ends, my makeup very well done. My eyes were done in plum and gray, light green with black eyeliner, lashes that winked with a definite curl. My lips, bright red to match my nails, looked fuller, my teeth whiter. It all made me begin to wonder about myself. Ken would have no trouble being drawn to me now. Both Mom and Aunt Mary looked astonished when I finally walked out of the salon, but neither of them said a word as I walked right past them, headed for the car. As I walked, I realized that I really liked the way I looked. Being a girl could be fun if I let it. All I had to do was get past knowing that I'm not a girl. Mom drove us home, then we ate a quick lunch before all three of us went to Mom's room. As I undressed, Mom began to lay out clothes on the bed. First came the white satin panties. I turned and slipped them on, pulling them tightly to my waist, then the white satin corset was wrapped around me, the laces pulled tight, making my waist shrink to a very small 24 inches while at the same time pushing my boobs up and into the cups of the built-in bra. Barely able to sit, I slid the white nylons up each leg and let Mom fasten them to the garters attached to the corset. Standing up and looking in the mirror, there stood a real stunner. A woman with a knockout figure, boobs to die for, and legs that seemed to go on forever. I could not help but smile at my reflection. I think that Claire likes this. That's obvious, Mary. I just hope she doesn't run away and get married tonight. She is a bride, so why not? I let them have their fun. The wedding dress was slipped over my head carefully, then zipped up. I stepped into the white satin shoes, standing still so Mom could fuss over me. When she was done, I looked at myself again. From the halo of pearls to my well-made-up face, down to my obvious cleavage, the satin straps of the dress hanging at the edge of each shoulder, my tapering trim waist, then the fullness of the skirt, billowing white satin that only accented my status as a bride. I have something for you, Claire. Aunt Mary stepped up and pushed a diamond and pearl earring into each lobe, then the matching necklace was fastened around my neck, the small diamond pendant hanging just above my breasts. Mom used some of her most expensive perfume on me, then they announced that I was ready. You stay up here, Claire, I'll call you when Ken arrives. But I'm supposed to meet him there. He called and said that he would pick you up, and that's all I know about it. Just relax. He'll be here shortly and I'll call you. What was there to say? I sat on the bed and waited with Aunt Mary. You look exquisite, Claire. A bride any mother would be proud of, and certainly any man. Thanks, I think. Relax, Claire, it's only a party, right? Then why go to all this trouble? Because it's the right thing to do. I heard the doorbell, then Mom called me. Aunt Mary helped me hold the dress up as I walked down the stairs and into the family room where Ken stood, dressed in a tuxedo. His eyes were glowing the minute he saw me, which was obvious to everyone. Mom insisted on a few pictures, so he and I stood next to each other, posing for her as she directed. Then he opened the door, and I saw the limousine. It was white with 3 doors on one side. He helped me into the car, and the driver took us to Aaron's house, parking right in front of the door. Once again, he helped me out of the car, and holding my dress up with both hands, we went into the house. I was expecting to see Superman and Lois Lane, Cinderella and her prince, but I saw all of the guys in tuxedos, the girls all in fancy dresses, 6 of them wearing similar dresses. It doesn't take a hammer to hit me before I catch on. Aaron had restructured the party as a wedding, with Ken and I as the centerpiece of her party. Someone started clapping as Ken and I walked through the house and out to the patio. I could tell, by the look on everyone's face, that I had shocked them to the core. The way I looked, nice hair, nails done, skinny waist and boobs that looked like they were busting out, all contributed. I had no idea that Aaron had decided to make this a mock wedding. At first, as a costume party, it was fun. Now, this. None of the guys said anything to me, but the girls all surrounded me, taking me into their little group as one of their own. You look fantastic. I never would have expected you to look like this, ever. Her mom gave her the name Claire, after she found out how he looked as a girl. One after another the girls all fussed with the dress, commenting on my hair, but it was Kelly that looked closer. Look, her eyebrows have been trimmed and shaped, and look at her nails. Those are acrylics. What's so bad about that? The girl at the salon didn't think it was a big deal, and Mom says they make my fingers look thinner. It was an innocent question, yet all of the girls looked at me with eyes wide. You don't know? No, what should I know? Claire, acrylic nails are designed to stay on for a very long time. You can get them off, I guess, but it's painful, and takes a very long time. You mean that I'll have to have long nails past next Thursday? All of the girls nodded their heads yes, and I got that same sinking feeling in my stomach. Aaron walked over to the buffet table, rapped on the table, and said that we should begin. Ken left me to stand by the makeshift altar, while the girls that were acting as bridesmaids took me to the other end of the patio, then, to the strains of Rod Stewart, began to slowly walk forward, lining up in a row in front of the altar. Then the wedding march started. It was my cue. Looking around at everyone, all of them smiling at me, I swallowed hard, then someone put a small bouquet of flowers in my hand. Without realizing it, I found myself walking towards Ken, slowly, my hands holding the small bouquet in front of me. Then our class president stood next to me when we reached the altar. Aaron stood in front of us and began to talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here gathered to join this new woman, known as Claire, and Ken, our class hunk. Before you is Claire, the bride, unwilling at first, a male as we knew her, yet she has transformed herself. Then there is Ken, the unsuspecting husband, probably scared to be a husband, until he saw Claire, that is. His heart flipped and flopped, taken by our bride's beauty. Aaron turned to David and asked, "Who gives this bride to this man?" "I and my classmates do." "David, can you and our classmates accept Claire as a woman, your friend, and a bride?" "We can." "Ken, do you take Claire to be your friend and classmate, to love her and cherish her, date her and keep her from harm from now on?" "I do." "Claire, do you take Ken to be your boyfriend and classmate, to love him and adore him, and then force him to spoil you?" I looked around at the people there, and saw them all smiling at me. "It's a game, right?" "I do." "Then I now pronounce you a couple. Let nobody step between you. Ken, you may now kiss the bride." He turned to face me, then, with everyone watching us, he pulled me to him and kissed me. For the first time his tongue slipped into my mouth, and also for the first time I did not pull away. Those vows said that I have to adore him, and I said I would. All of the kids there know that I am not a girl, yet all of them did not say one word when he kissed me. As his arms went around me, I felt myself giving in, not because it was a game, but for another reason. While I was in my room waiting for Ken to arrive, I looked at myself in the mirror, and liked what I saw. At first I had visions of what I might look like, which were shattered that first time I was completely dressed. I realized that I like being so pretty. I liked the clothes, the makeup, and now, having boobs. As Ken held me and kissed me, his tongue exploring my mouth, I relaxed and simply enjoyed it. Tonight I am a bride, and Ken is mine, but it's just for tonight. No matter how I feel about it, I'll change back to myself later, and this will all go away, remaining a fun party and interesting time. Right after the wedding, the girls took me to Aaron's bedroom, telling me I had to change. Since I did not bring any extra clothes, I knew they had something in mind. As soon as the door closed, and my maid of honor, Aaron, and I were alone, Aaron brought out a white dress for me to change into. Kelly unzipped my gown, and they helped me to get it off. Holy cow! Just look at you. You've got a better figure than I do. Satin panties too. There wasn't a lump where there should have been. In the interest of doing the best I could, I had tucked things out of the way, and now had a smooth front, just like the rest of the girls. "This is one of my dresses, Claire. I thought it would be easier to wear than that gown." "Thanks, Aaron, but his will all be gone as soon as possible, and I'll be back to myself again." Both Aaron and Kelly snorted, then smiled at me. "I don't think so, but we'll see." Then the other dress was slipped over my head. Thin spaghetti straps held it up, a sweetheart neckline exposing my boobs, the tapering waist merely accenting my shape. The hem was about 2 inches above my knees, and really looked quite nice with my white shoes and stockings. I touched up my lipstick, then followed them back to the patio, where Ken was waiting. He took my hand as the music started, folded me into his arms, and as is tradition, we danced alone for a while. All of this attention was all very nice, but isn't it weird for 2 boys to be dancing? By the time midnight rolled around, every single boy there asked me to dance, which gave me the shivers. Ken finally said it was time to go, took my hand, and together we went around and thanked everyone. Then he took me to his car. The limo was gone. I hoped he would take me straight home, but deep inside, I knew he would not, and I was right. All that happened last year. By the time I got home that night, I knew that I could return to being my old self, I just wasn't so sure I wanted to. I never said anything to Mom, but I wore a skirt and blouse every day after that. About 12 days later my right breast fell off. The glue had finally lost the battle of gravity. My nails still held tightly, so I removed the other breast, cleaned my chest, and promptly glued them back on. Mom, thinking that I was still waiting for the glue to fail, never said a word. My Aunt Mary, however, knew better, and told me she knew. That's when I knew she also told Mom. I no longer cared at this point, and merely smiled at her. My hair grew out, and I went back to the salon and had it trimmed and styled into a page boy. About 2 months later a nail fell off, so I removed the others, plus the breasts. Then, for the first time in months, I dressed in my own clothes, my hair drawn back into a low ponytail. That lasted for about a week. Mom said I was moody and short-tempered, listless and sloppy, and demanded to know why. How could I tell her? Ken called a few times after that, but I had returned to my male self and he lost interest. Aaron came over a few times, with pictures of the wedding once. Surprised that I had given up Claire, she told me that there was someone that really wanted to take me out, but did not tell me who it was. In an effort to raise my spirits, Mom suggested we visit the mall and just wander around. As we walked along, I found myself looking in the windows at all the lingerie, the nice dresses, and so on. Mom saw my distraction, but waited until we got home to say anything. Then she put her foot down, demanding that I bring Claire back to life. It took me one whole day, but when I emerged from my room I was once again Claire. The next day I had my nails done, and visited Erin. I told her I was back, and I was going to stay. David called me that night. We went to dinner, then a show before his lips touched mine. David told me that he could not get me out of his mind, then over the next month made it possible for me to accept myself as a woman. I no longer own any male clothes. I pitched them out as soon as I realized how much I liked being a woman. In the luck of the draw we play the hand we are dealt. I didn't have to tell my mother, she could see it with her own 2 eyes. I had been dealt a handful of hearts, and I like it. In a few months my own boobs will finally fill out and I can quit padding my bra. My hips filled out right away, and without the corset I have a 25-inch waist now. What a great luck of the draw I got.